Hello, and welcome to another edition of From the Source. I'm your host, Elizabeth Johnson. Today, I have the opportunity to speak with former New York State Senator Elaine Phillips. Elaine Phillips has been tapped on the shoulder to run on the Republican ticket for Nassau County Comptroller.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you very much for having me as a guest today. I'm looking forward to speaking to you.
As a woman, mother, as well as wife, you've also been very successful as a leader in business, the schools, the local community, and state government. Tell me, what made you decide to step and become a leader?
So, I've always had a passion for service and a passion for hard work because service means hard work. But I also believe that these are learned skills. And, I had the privilege of having a mother who was so ahead of her time. So I am one of four daughters. I was at the very end. My oldest sister is 21 years older than I am. Neither of my parents had a high school education. I'm the first one in my family to go to college. But I learned what it meant to give back and what it took to give back and the hard work it took really from my mother. So I lost my father when I was 12 years old. My mother ran a kitchen in the American Legion. On the weekends and even weeknights, I worked. But my mother still had the time and the energy, even at her age, to be the PTA president when I was in elementary school. So it wasn't just when my sisters were in elementary school when she was younger and she had a spouse to kind of carry the load of the family. But this was during my days also. So, I thank my mother, may she rest in peace, every day of my life, because she really was such a tremendous role model for me. And as you know, Elizabeth, and many of your viewers know, I have three daughters. And, my hope and my goal is to be that same role model for my daughters. But I will say the tables are turning a little bit. My daughters are grown women now. They've gone on to careers that I now can learn from them, in the medical field, in the mental health field, in sports management field. So, it really is a collaborative type of learning right now. So, I'm proud of my upbringing. I am passionate for service, but I'm also a hard worker, which is what I think this job will take.
So tell us a little bit about your background that will help you in this particular role as comptroller, because it takes a lot of financial expertise and understanding, perhaps even a good accounting background. Not to say that you haven't successfully run budgets and stuff like that, but I think that your background was in sales when you were in business.
Right.
But
Right. So, it really is going to come down to the candidates having the most experience. And as you said, financial experience is first and foremost. So, when it comes to this role, it truly is a leadership role. There are highly talented people in the comptroller's office. My understanding, there's 75 to 80 talented people who understand what the job is done and perform at a very high level. What they're going to be looking at me for is the leadership, is understanding what is needed, what is how we can protect the taxpayer, how we can use their money most effectively, most efficiently, and in the most transparent way. So there's no question that my resume has the leadership there. May it be in the financial world, in the years of in the financial service, in a very sophisticated financial service sector. You know, I've seen markets go up. I've seen markets go down. I have made sure that my clients have been able to get the type of service that they have deserved in these markets. You know, my role as a trustee and then mayor of the village of Flower Hill, one of the first things that I had to deal with was Superstorm Sandy. And, you know, interesting, as a new mayor, you're definitely not prepared for the devastation that we saw here on Long Island during Superstorm Sandy and what it took. I mean, I had residents that were out of power for over 14 days. And interesting, some of those same skills and really leadership skills that I had from working in the financial service sector, I was able to apply to that experience also. So it's leadership, it's learning, knowing how to deal with government. You know, I have my experience as trustee in 2 different villages, as mayor, as a New York State senator will be invaluable because there is no question that the government works differently than the private sector. But I would also say it's my experience in the many non-for-profits that I've worked with, that and in many of these non-for-profits, I've either chaired the boards or been the treasurer for the boards. Okay. So it's that combination that I believe really sets me apart, and I hope and would be honored for the residents of Nassau County to give me this opportunity to serve them.
Well, I know you were very successful in your first run for New York State Senator, and you were basically, I think, running in a non-presidential election time, which is similar to this time that you're running. But now you're running for a 4-year term, which I think is better just in general for government as well as yourself. I know that as senator, it was a 2-year term, and it's just, there's a learning curve to go through, and then you're in the job, you're going 100 miles an hour, and then you have to go and run for re-election.
Campaigning, yes.
So, but since leaving your as senator, what have you been doing? I know that you kind of changed course and started something different.
Yeah, really, I'm back in the financial service sector. So I have the honor to work for a firm called Cap Trust. We are the largest independent financial investment advisory firm in the United States, headquartered out of Raleigh, North Carolina. But we have an office right here on Long Island. And there's a wonderful story there that actually, when I was mayor, we were looking for an investment advisor to manage a pension plan for one of the fire departments that covered our village and covered many villages, and actually the town of North Hempstead also. And we interviewed, I chaired the committee once again because of my financial background, chaired that committee. And we did an RFP, interviewed a lot of different financial advisory firms. And it was the firm that I'm now working for that we hired. And what we found in this firm is, I always say at the time, they were privately owned and then sold to Cap Trust, but they had the investment acumen that the big guys, the Goldman Sachs's, my prior firm, the Morgan Stanley of the world, but it was much more customer oriented. So it's truly an honor to be working with them now in the pension arena. But I also have, I'm giving back, continue to give back, and I am on the board of Island Harvest, the largest food bank here on Long Island. What's so amazing is the amount of food insecurity that exists here on Long Island. So it has truly been an honor to volunteer with Island Harvest when it comes to during COVID. The many food drives that that we did. I was right out there in Elmont and at the Nassau Coliseum, handing out food to cars as they came for families that never thought that they would have food insecurity, but because of COVID and the devastation to the economy, here they were. So giving back to Island Harvest, and I'm also on the board and the treasurer in training of SEO Family of Services. SEO is the largest provider of children and family services in the New York metropolitan area. We do amazing things when it comes to foster care, when it comes to children that are on the spectrum, when it comes to children that have IQs that are below 50. We have schools. We teach parents. We teach fathers how to be a parent. We're the largest provider of foster care. So, as being on the leadership board of that, both of those organizations has been a pretty amazing experience. So proud of it.
And actually so worthwhile and necessary during this pandemic. It's really, you just hit the nail right on the head, Elaine. And that's why we're so proud to have you run on our behalf. One of the things that, as a former senator for New York State, I would assume more people know who you are, which would make your campaign just a trifle bit easier. However, I can't even say that this is going to be easier because you're running for a position during a pandemic. And though the vaccines are on the horizon and being distributed ever more plentifully, it's still a different world out there. And, my question is, how are you going to campaign? Or how are you campaigning is really the question.
Well, from the day you get on that, the petitions go out as the campaigns begin. And I can only hope that the constituents I served for those 2 years in the New York State Senate and my community right here in the village that I live in and the village that I also, the village of Muncie Park that I served, do remember the fairness and the hard work that I did. The one thing I love about this opportunity, this potential opportunity, is that it's right here. It's right here in Nassau County. And although I'm extremely proud of what I did in the New York State Senate, I sometimes think what I did as a mayor, what I did for various, being on the Citizens Action Committee here for my children's high school, my local high school, or being a board member on these private organizations, or even teaching martial arts, I was able to make more impact here in my community than sometimes you can do at the state level. So I hope that people remember the ethical standards that I always maintained and the independence that I always maintained. I am a fierce fighter, but I fight in a professional and an ethical way. But I am an independent, and I will stand up to both parties to protect our taxpayers of Nassau County. There's no question about that. But it will be a different way. Hopefully by July or August, the majority of people will be vaccinated. Needless to say, it's still a people business campaigning. People always say, Elaine, if they just meet you, they're going to understand who you are, and they're going to appreciate who you are, and they're going to vote for you. My goal is to meet as many people as I possibly can. But I will say, Elizabeth, what's also a little different is the team around me. I am blessed to have a team, a ticket beyond just this role of highly qualified, ethical, hardworking individuals that have proven to their communities that they are putting their constituents first and foremost. And that comes to, Don Clavin. Well, first at the top of the ticket, Bruce Blakeman, who's running for the county executive position. Maureen, who is our county clerk, Maureen O'Connell, who is, has been through many different county executives, and people continue to elect her because guess what? She cares about the people of Nassau County, and she proves that. And I can only, hope that people see that with me too. But we've got Don Clavin, who's running again for town supervisor in the town of Hempstead, and Kate Murray, who, is a fixture in the town of Hempstead, running for town clerk, and Joe Saladino running in the town of Oyster Bay, and all the various town and county legislators that are on the ticket. And we have Jen DeSena right here in the town of North Hempstead, and Rogni, who's running for town clerk, who has demonstrated time and again that as a woman, as a businesswoman, that she cares about her community. And we have an amazing woman, Mazi Philippe, who's running for the county ledge, and Great Neck, who is an immigrant to our country. She was born in Ethiopia, moved to Israel, raised in Israel, immigrates again to the United States. She's a mother of 5, and she runs 2 businesses. So, I never had that team in the past, right? At the mayoral level, but at the Senate, when you go up at that level, you're a little bit on your own. And here, I'm just so proud to be a part of this team.
Did you ever think that you were going to enter into politics? I know that you're very passionate about your causes and things, but did you really ever see yourself today, being, a very important part of the Republican Party?
Thank you. I was a political science undergrad.
There you go.
Yes, I have my MBA in finance, but my undergraduate degree is in political science. And, I took to it. And I think, like every 17, 18-year-old, you have no idea what you're going to do in life. And, I actually had the opportunity. I was a Rotary Exchange student in Brazil for a year. And then when I came back, when I entered, I'm a Penn Stater. So when I entered college, I happened to take a 101, political science 101. And, I found my passion. So did I, and then I ended up getting an MBA in finance and going to Wall Street. And so did I ever think I would be in public office? The answer is I'm not sure, but I think it was always behind me. And it was really the then mayor of the village of Muncie Park who called me, and, here I am working, and I have 3 little kids. And he said, it's like, why is the mayor calling me? What did we do wrong? Right. And because Andy and I hadn't moved from the city. We hadn't been on Long Island that long. And he said, look, I'm looking for a trustee. Someone has left. I have to appoint someone, and I keep hearing about you. So I give credit or blame Harry Nicolaides, who is the mayor of the village of Muncie Park.
Yeah, he was there for quite a long time, and
Yes, talk about someone who gave back to their community. So,
oh, definitely, definitely.
definitely did.
So do you feel that like social media is going to be a big influencer in your campaign this time around? And the reason why I ask that is because it seems like print has kind of been so badly impacted by this pandemic that with COVID, they had to lay off reporters, they had to lay off editors, and therefore it's not quite the coverage as it used to be, where they could dedicate one reporter to a town or whatever. Now it's spread out. They're barely making it through. And television is obviously a very good medium to get your message across, except that it could be expensive. So, I'm curious to know what tactics that you are considering, because I know that you are a strategist. That's the first thing, and you have, put together a strategy in order to get to your goal. So what are you considering at this point? Because I'm sure it's relatively new into the game, and
yeah, it's early. But as I said, as soon as those petitions come back, the campaign is on. I just want to take a second to address the local newspapers, because I know, Elizabeth, this is something that is something very near and dear to you. And, I believe, one, there will always be a place for our local newspapers. As a mother who had, kids that played athletics, who were dancers, who were in theater, it's important to be able to open up that local newspaper and see your child, or see a neighbor who has done something good, either in their career or for our community. So I have to give the local papers a huge shout out, but also tremendous nod, because I've seen what they've done. So, they have, instead of being different papers for each village, now you have a consolidated. They try to make the first couple pages highlight the local community, and then usually the end, when the sports happen, to highlight the local. But the in between are issues that apply to all of our various communities. So a huge shout out to the local papers that have done their best in some extremely trying times. And for those individuals that were furloughed or lost their job, my heart goes out to them, because there's so many businesses, which is why it's not the question you're asking, but which is why I'm so passionate and so honored to be tapped on the shoulder for this comptroller's role, to run for this role, because it really is making sure that taxpayers, that our residents, have somebody watching out for them, and making sure that the dollars that the county gets from the federal government now, which is hundreds of millions of dollars, are used the way that they should be used. And they are used for the purpose of bringing Nassau County back. So, we will use every and any medium, available. Obviously, social media has just become so important, and it's not just for the younger generation now. Elizabeth, I don't want to put you in my age group, but even those of us that are on our 50s, 60s, and 70s and 80s have become so much more computer literate. So, all forms of social media, all forms of media will be used. But nothing takes away from looking at somebody in the eye and saying hello. So, I'm a people person, and I believe I will get out there as safely, obviously, as social distancing as I possibly can over the next, what is it, um, 8 months. Yeah, yeah,
8 months.
yeah,
It's
eight
a very
months.
short period of time.
Very short period of time to get people to know who you are. So I'm going to thank you, because really this is the first step, Elizabeth. So thank you again. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. With the, I guess last year, an issue occurred with the Nassau County Controller's Office with a fraudulent claim coming from a vendor that was used in the past. How I know that transparency was a big item for Jack Schneerman. However, he, was caught in this situation by saying, "Oh, we caught it," and whatever. What I'm sure that there's going to be plenty more fraudulent schemes coming up, because right now we're in a very bad situation as far as people being unemployed and just ploys in general trying to be executed by whatever thief is out there. How would you, what would you put in place? And you might not know this, but to protect Nassau County finances from these schemes going forward.
Right. Well, and that really gets back to having the leadership skills. There is a professional team over there in the comptroller's office, and I have to make sure, if I'm given the opportunity to be that leader, to make sure that they have the tools to make sure that there isn't any type of fraudulent or unethical or abuse that happens in that office. And that is really making sure that there are checks and balances in place. And those checks and balances are being utilized each and every time, because you are right. We are in a technology world that is so sophisticated, and the hackers have so many different schemes. One of the things that I was able to offer when I was in the Senate office is we did these senior citizen. We had the Department of Consumer Protection come down, and we would go to different libraries throughout the Senate district and teach particularly senior citizens the skills not to be scammed. And it was really one of the most rewarding things I was able to do for constituents, because the scammers have gotten so sophisticated. So there is no question that one of my roles is, by protecting the taxpayers, is ensuring that the checks and balances, and that the people that are doing the jobs in the comptroller's office, these highly skilled, competent individuals, have the resources that they need to make sure that these checks and balances are actually done. This comptroller's role has many different facets to it, and that is an extremely important, to make sure that the vendors that service the county, one, that they, are paid for the job that they do in a timely and efficient way. So we want to make sure that when RFPs are put out at the county level, that we get as many vendors as possible bidding on those RFPs, because more vendors, it's more competitive, better use of our taxpayer dollars. So we want to ensure that that's being done. But we also, how do you maintain those vendors for competing for the county business? You make sure that they're paid for the job that they do, not that the job, that maybe they think they did. So it has to be for the job that they were hired to do,
right?
And that they are paid in an efficient and timely way. And, that's what this staff does. And we, again, have to make sure that they have the tools to do that.
One last question. Have you met your competition in the Democratic ticket, which is Ryan Cronin?
I have not met Mr. Cronin, but he reached out to me, which was a very nice gesture. We talked for probably 15, 20 minutes, got to know each other, and both assured each other that we are going to run races that the people of Nassau County deserve. And that means they're going to be ethical, they're going to be professional, and they are going to be issue-based. So I look forward to debating and talking about what these important issues, obviously taxes being the first and foremost on everyone here in Nassau County's mind. We live in Nassau County for a reason, right? We live in Nassau County because we want security. That might be financial security. So that means jobs. That means taxes or tax dollars being used effectively. We want good ways to commute. We want affordable housing. But that also means when we walk down the street or any street, that we make sure that we feel safe and our children can ride their bikes. So we're here on Nassau County. We live on Nassau County for a reason. And if I have the honor to be the controller, I will make sure that I work with our town supervisors. I will make sure I work with our village mayors to make sure that they have the resources to make their communities better communities. And I will do it in an independent and in a fair way, that no matter if it's a Republican or a Democrat, I will work for the people.
I know you will. And I hope that they all come out for you in November. I don't know what it is this year.
November 2nd.
Oh, my brother's birthday.
Oh, it is. The first Tuesday in November.
That's right. The first Tuesday in November.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. And I hope that you'll join us again in the future to speak once again From the Source.